The BJP-led NDA is locked in a high-stakes battle with the Congress DNK combined for Tamil Nadu, as the BJP eyes more seats from the south. India elections. WION continuous coverage.
WION, India's global voice. The channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Welcome, I'm Ananya Datta and I'm back with another edition of Race to Power. Coming up in this broadcast, India is just 3 days away from D-Day. We travel to the largest state of Rajasthan to gauge the mood on the ground. Special report coming up. In the United Kingdom, another one of Rishi Sunak's own policies are endangering his party's election prospect. If you are watching us from the United Kingdom and are born after 2009, your Prime Minister does not want you to smoke. Now, poll fever is at an all-time high in the mother of all democracies. Only 2 days to go for millions of voters in India to decode who will win this action-packed race to power. But as India goes to polls, both sides have escalated pointed attacks at each other. And in the eye of the storm in this election are the contentious electoral bonds.
इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड न होते तो किस व्यवस्था में ताकत है वो ढूंढ के निकालते कि पैसा कहां से आया और कहां गया। ये तो इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड की सक्सेस स्टोरी है कि इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड थे तो आपको ट्रेल मिल रहा है मनी का कि किस कंपनी ने दिया, कैसे दिया, कहां दिया। अब उसमें अच्छा हुआ बुरा हुआ वो विवाद का विषय हो सकता है।
उसमें ना जरूरी बात है नाम और तारीखें, डेट्स। अगर आप नाम और तारीख को देखोगे तो आपको पता लगेगा कि जब उन लोगों ने इलेक्टोरल बॉन्ड दिया है उसी के एकदम बाद उनको या तो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मिला है या फिर जो सीबीआई का उन पर इंक्वायरी हो रही थी वो हटाई गई है। तो ये प्रधानमंत्री पकड़े गए हैं, इसीलिए ये एएनआई को इंटरव्यू दे रहे हैं। मैं बता रहा हूं, सुनो, ये पकड़े गए हैं। ये दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा एक्सटॉर्शन स्कीम है।
The star campaigners have also left no stones unturned in highlighting their respective party manifestos at campaign rallies.
बंगाल के ये विचार आज बीजेपी के विजन का हिस्सा है। अपने इसी विजन के साथ बीजेपी ने संकल्प पत्र जारी किया है। बीजेपी का ये संकल्प पत्र मोदी का गारंटी कार्ड है।
I would recommend that you read our manifesto. We have a strategy for employment, we have a strategy for farmers, we have a strategy for laborers, for women, for young men. And the BJP has also promised a few things. They have two main ideas. One is to bring the Olympic Games to India, and the second is to send someone to the moon.
Voting will be held for 543 Lok Sabha seats in 7 phases, with the first phase scheduled on April 19th and the 7th phase on June 1st. Counting of votes will take place on June 4th as scheduled. Among other states in India, Rajasthan is all set to go to polls in the first phase and second phase of the Indian general election. BJP is eyeing for a clean sweep for a third time in a row. Can Congress stop BJP's momentum is the question. WION special correspondent WION Castell travelled to Bharatpur to gauge the mood on the ground.
Rajasthan, one of India's most popular tourist destinations. It is known for its historic forts and palaces and vibrant culture. The largest state by area has 25 parliamentary constituencies. The 2024 Indian general election in Rajasthan will be held in 2 phases. The first phase of voting will take place on the 19th of April for 12 seats that includes the cities of Jaipur, Bikaner, Bharatpur, Alwar and Ganganagar, while the second phase of voting will take place on the 26th of April. To feel the pulse of Rajasthan, we visited the city of Bharatpur, known for its famous bird sanctuary, the Keoladeo National Park.
I think it's pretty much a one-sided game this time.
I think they are going to repeat this government for third term.
The BJP is coming for here once again.
So I am in Bharatpur and I've come directly to the Keoladeo National Park, which is renowned for its wildlife. So I've picked up a bike and it's time to explore this national park that is also UNESCO listed. So let's make a move and see what we can spot. Declared as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1985, the natural oasis hosts over 370 species of birds. Migratory birds travel from as far as Siberia to take refuge here and spend the winter before heading back to their various breeding grounds. On the trail in the park, we gauged the mood of the people.
I think India is still lagging when it comes to medical facilities and education. Even the lowest income group gets the best medical treatment and education. That's what I would want the next 5 years Modi government to be focusing on, or whichever government comes in.
Who do you think will win the election?
Modi.
I think it has been a wonderful achievement for Modi's government, and I think he's doing the right job.
Rajasthan has a history of alternating between the Indian National Congress and the Bharatiya Janata Party since 1993. Congress lost all 25 Lok Sabha seats in 2014. Even in 2019, BJP registered a one-sided victory. Will the state swing back to the other side this time, or will it be a hat-trick for the BJP? The results will be out on the 4th of June.
Let's shift focus to the United States now. It is the second day of Donald Trump's historic hush money trial. The tedious task to select 12 jurors for the trial has now resumed. Day 1 had highlighted how challenging the process will be. Nearly half of the 100 potential jurors questioned were dismissed on the first day itself, as they failed to prove they are not biased against Trump. They said that they could not impartially judge the polarizing businessman turned politician who is also seeking re-election while battling 4 separate criminal cases. No other former president in the history of the United States has faced a criminal trial. The 77-year-old is accused of falsifying his business records to disguise a hush money payment made to a porn star, Stormy Daniels, before the 2016 elections. If Trump is convicted, he could face up to 4 years in jail. Selecting jury is the first step in the trial. It can take days to just complete this single process. The entire trial is expected to continue for 6 to 8 weeks. And Trump is mandated to attend the trial in person. Trump has pleaded not guilty to 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. On day one, he called his trial an assault on America. Meanwhile, a new poll suggests that only about 1/3 of US adults think Trump did something illegal in the hush money case. Close to half think he did something illegal in the other 3 criminal cases pending against him. Meanwhile, Trump himself does not seem enthralled at being the center of attention. As he sat for the trial, journalists seated behind him reported that he dozed off at times. These reports have inspired a new nickname for the former president on social media, and that is Sleepy Don. President Joe Biden also did not miss the opportunity. His team jumped onto the trend and even posted memes about it. While Trump is hitting the courtroom, Biden is taking his campaign to Pennsylvania, the biggest battleground of the 2024 election. Biden will begin a 3-day trip to Pennsylvania with another visit to his hometown Scranton, where he will deliver a speech criticizing Trump's 2017 tax cuts for corporations and the wealthiest Americans. Shifting focus to the United Kingdom now, Prime Minister is yet again facing rebellion from his own party. This time it's regarding his flagship plan to ban smoking. According to reports, more than 50 members of parliament are expected to defy Rishi Sunak and vote against the bill today. In a major public health intervention, Rishi Sunak wants to make Generation Alpha, those who are born after 2009, the UK's first smoke-free generation. And today, the MPs will debate plans for some of the world's toughest anti-tobacco laws in the country. If passed, then anyone turning 15 from this year will be banned from buying cigarettes under the Tobacco and Vapes Bill. The bill will make the sale of tobacco products illegal rather than the act of smoking. Moreover, under the plan's trading standard, officers will get new powers to issue on the spot some $124 fine to shops selling tobacco or vapes to children. All the money raised from such fines will go towards further enforcement for the ban. There will be new restrictions on flavors, packaging and the sale of vapes to make them less appealing to children. Also, the bill is set to raise the minimum age for buying tobacco every year to try phase out smoking altogether. Tobacco is UK's single biggest preventable cause of death, killing 2/3 of long-term users and causing 80,000 deaths every single year. The smoking ban is one of Rishi Sunak's 3 key policies, which he announced at the Tory party conference last year. According to UK's Health Secretary, who is all set to introduce the bill at its second reading in the House of Commons. Victoria Atkins says that smoking is uniquely harmful and the bill will save thousands of lives. However, some top Tory members have criticised the ban, describing it as unconservative and illiberal. The former Prime Minister Liz Truss has called the move an example of nanny state in action, and Boris Johnson has described the plan as absolutely nuts, meaning the Prime Minister could have to rely on support from the other side of the Commons to get the bill over the line. Elections and sanctions, 2 words that have of late become linked to Venezuela. In the latest pre-poll drama, the United States has said that it will not ease its sanctions against Venezuela unless the country's president takes action on guaranteeing free and fair elections. Washington's statement comes just 3 days before the license that eases sanctions expires. Unexpectedly, Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro lashed out at the US in a televised show. He said that the nation will move forward with oil and gas deals with or without sanctions from the United States.
Why is it colonial? Because the United States wants us to monitor, control and dictate Venezuela's oil industry. By trying to hurt us, you're hurting yourselves. We will move forward with or without a permit. We are not a gringo colony. We are not your colony. And Venezuela will continue its economic march. Nobody will stop us, gringos.
The United States had previously lifted its embargo against Venezuela, and now it threatens to reverse the decision if the Caribbean nation does not conduct free and fair presidential polls on July 28th. Domestic circumstances surrounding the electoral process in Venezuela has been tense for the past few months, both for the opposition and the ruling parties. While the campaigning has already begun, several potential issues can skew the election result and hinder a free voting process. On the show, we have told you before how Venezuela's key opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, has been banned from fighting elections. Just last month, Machado threw her weight behind an alternative candidate, an 80-year-old historian, Corina Lloris. But soon after, Lloris was unable to register her nomination as the key opponent to incumbent Maduro. The opposition Democratic Unitary Platform cried foul, saying, and I'm quoting, "This is a violation of the right of the majority of Venezuelans who want to vote for change." Meanwhile, the lack of opposition does not mean a smooth ride for the Venezuelan president. Maduro is seeking a third term in office and is determined not to yield an inch in this race to power. But his leaders are all hobbled by corruption scandals. Just last week, former oil minister Tariq El Assami, once one of the most influential officials in President Maduro's government, was arrested in a corruption probe related to state oil company PDVSA. Former finance minister Simon Zerpa and businessperson Sumak Lopez are also been detained under similar corruption allegations. The United States has sanctioned all these individuals since 2017. These arrests, of course, come at a very sensitive time for Maduro, as it can potentially hurt his re-election bid. In a move to save face, Maduro had proposed life imprisonment for crimes of corruption and treason.
El Consejo Nacional Electoral.
Now, because of all of this, it remains to be seen if Venezuela's voters buy his action and bring him back to power. After all, they might not have a choice. But without an opposition leader taking on the incumbent, what are the odds of Maduro losing? We will now slip into a short break, and coming up on this broadcast, we'll be telling you why Georgia's people are out on the streets protesting and why the country's lawmakers are throwing punches inside the parliament.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at WION.com.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S. And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation. Hello and welcome back. You are watching Race to Power with me, Ananya Datta. While the Georgian parliamentarians began to read the Foreign Agents Bill, more than 5,000 protesters gathered outside the building. We will tell you why the bill is being called quote-unquote Russian in nature, but first look at the visuals coming out of Tbilisi. The protesters are bracing riot police and water cannons. There is only one demand, that the bill should be withdrawn. The Foreign Agents Bill has opposing view in Georgia. It demands that organizations receiving more than 20% of their funding from abroad will have to register themselves as quote-unquote foreign agents. This is specifically for non-governmental firms, media and trade unions. While the ruling alliance is calling it democratic, the opposition is branding it Russian.
This law defends democracy in our country from any foreign interference. Transparency and accountability are priorities. It's confirmed by the EU's report.
Stop considering this Russian law. Recall this law once and for all. There is no place in Georgia for a Russian law. Europe is the choice of the Georgian people.
The outrage outside is the same inside. Just yesterday, this is what happened inside the parliament. Leader of the ruling faction was punched in the face by an opposition MP. The incident then prompted a wider brawl. Unfortunately, this has become a common occurrence in Georgia's parliament. This is not the first time the bill has been tabled. It was shelved about 13 months back because of huge protests then as well. The criticism has been that it cracks down on dissent, much like its neighbor, Russia. The government claims that it will increase transparency, but rights groups argue that it will silence critical organizations who speak out against abuses and injustice. There is a lot at stake here. First, this is an election year for Georgia. In October, the single-chamber parliament will hold polls. Second, critics say that the bill can jeopardize Georgia's hopes of joining the European Union. The bill is likely to pass in the parliament since it's controlled by the ruling party and its allies. But once it becomes law, what that will mean for the elections and Europe as a whole, that remains to be seen.
Georgi Vashadze, Alexander Akuyashvili, David Kerkitadze, Irakli Khadagishvili.
Kolegებო, მივესალმები ჩვენს თანამოქალაქეებს. გუშინ 11 საათის განმავლობაში
Preparations are underway in Solomon Islands as the country goes to polls on Wednesday. But on the eve of elections, locals, especially business owners, hope for a riot-free and a peaceful process. The April 17th election is touted to be a high-stakes one for the island nation. The poll result can potentially reshape regional security for the country, since this will be the first election since the Solomons severed diplomatic ties with Taiwan in the year 2019 and backed Beijing's One China principle instead. For analysts and foreign observers, there are two critical questions that they await an answer to. One, how the election will pave the way for the ties with China. Two, if Prime Minister Manasseh Sowore will be re-elected. But for citizens and voters of Solomon Islands, the age-old concern around life and livelihood remain the biggest concern. However, the electoral process itself is also an issue that worries many. You see, polls in Solomon Islands have often been followed by protests and unrest. Elections in 2019 had led to rioting and protests. Many Asian-run businesses were targeted back then, which is why residents and business owners of Chinatown are worried. A similar instance also occurred in the year 2021, where at least 3 people were killed in riots.
I just hope that, there's safety in the town during elections tomorrow and also during the counting period. So we might stick around in this area as well to look out for anything that's happening.
Ahead of the polls, several of the country's neighbours have sent their police forces to help with security situation to avoid a repeat of past incidents of violence.
Quite a lot of our officers throughout the whole country, but at the same time our bilateral partners are filling in the gaps, and their job is to come in to work with us in Honiara to support the areas that we have we identify as gaps, and then they support us with those areas in terms of our planning.
Logistically, Solomon Islands election is the most complicated one in the world. More than 760,000 citizens are spread across 900 islands, making the voting process fairly challenging to conduct. It will take several weeks for the poll authorities to collect the ballots across all the islands, count them, and then subsequently wait the 50 elected MPs to form a government. Further, only after a government is formed do the lawmakers then elect the country's next Prime Minister. And with that, we are wrapping up this edition of Race to Power. Thanks for watching with me, Ananya Datta. Goodbye.
Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I should push myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Economic turmoil and global unrest have cast a shadow over President Joe Biden's approval ratings.
The rockets are continuing to be fired by Hamas in Gaza, although at a slower rate than previously.
So, right now, we are with the volunteers from the Aleppo municipality. They are still trying to go to the rescue for the people they can find out.
India has emerged as a major diplomatic force at the world stage.
The rising cost of living in Nigeria continues to impact citizens from all walks of life.
The citizens of Gujarat witnessed a mega roadshow here in the city of Ahmedabad.
China is South Africa's largest trading partner for 134 years straight.
A domestic aircraft carrying 72 people on board crashed in Pokhara city in central Nepal.
165 injuries have been moved, 61 people are confirmed dead, and rescue operations continue around me.
After receiving an entire season's rainfall in a span